What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be tearing down the cylinder head on this S52 cylinder head here. So basically we're prepping it for the machine shop. So basically we're going to take everything off except for the cams. Now, depending on the machine shop you use, or depending on who's working in the machine shop the day you go in, really depends on whether you take the cams on or off. I'm taking this head down to Machine Tech down here in Oceanside. They're a good engine performance machine shop. And the first head I took in, they didn't want me to take the cams off. And the second head I took down there, the dude wanted me to take the cams off before. So I came back, took the cams off, took it back, and then they machined it. So it really depends on the shop. You could give them a call before you take it down there to see if they want you to take the cams off. But for now, we're just going to take all the stuff off. If I do take the cams off, it's going to be in a separate video. So let's get started. Tools you will need: 3/8 driver, 10mm socket, 10mm extension, 13mm socket, 17mm socket, 22mm socket, a 1/2" driver. If you have a 22mm and 3/8, you won't need the 1/2" driver. I don't have a 22mm and 3/8, so I have to use a 1/2" driver for it. We're going to need some books. So basically we're going to set the cylinder head flat, and to do that you want to sort of elevate it on the ends so you're not setting it down on the open valves. If you have the cams still in, at least two or three of the valve sets are open, so you don't want to set the head down directly on the valves because you might bend the valves. These are just to elevate the head. Wood works if you have like a little couple blocks of wood. I'm using books because I have a lot of books. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set the head down. So I have some books here, and I like to set it on something like this across it so that the valves, you're not laying the head on the valves. So we're going to set some paper towels on here. Just going to make sure, yep, valves aren't touching. So basically you don't want to set the head just straight on the ground or straight on the table. So basically we're just going to be taking off some minor things. We got some coolant adapter things that need to come off. The coolant temperature sensor needs to come off. The thermostat and thermostat housing need to come off. And then these valve cover studs need to come off too. So not that hard, not that big a deal. They just got to come off. So I have a little piece of Tupperware here that we're going to use or in so we don't lose some stuff. So the first thing we're going to start taking off is these valve cover studs here. So basically what you want is to get everything off that's not just the cast metal. So I'm going to start by these guys. And we already took 3 off when we did the Vanos removal. We had to take those off in order to set the timing blocks for the cam timing. So those guys are already off. Some machine shops will do this for you. They'll start taking all the stuff off. Like the thermostat sticks below the cylinder head deck, so they have to take it off in order to machine it. So they'll take it off for you. I like to do it myself just so they don't lose any of the parts or the pieces that goes on with it. It's a little bit less work for them, so they can machine it quicker and it gets back to you quicker. Plus it's a weekend right now, so it's a Sunday, so they're not even open. The machine shops, at least mine, the one I use, is pretty quick with machining heads. The first head I took it in the evening, I got it back the next morning. And the second head I took it in first thing in the morning, and it was back the same day, later that evening. I picked it up. So basically, if you pull your head gasket or you pull the cylinder head off for any reason, you absolutely should remachine the head. There's no reason why you shouldn't. It will help it seal a lot better. The unshaved head back on to a gasket won't make it seal as well. The next thing we're going to be removing is the thermostat housing. So 3 of them are 10mm and 1 of them is 13. And this guy's already pretty loose. We took him off in order to get the engine lift bracket off for the Vanos unit again. So a lot of the stuff is already broken loose, and the rest of them are all 10mm, and there are 2 on the underside. It pops off. There we go. And then the thermostat comes off next, but I'm going to mark his direction because I'm using an aftermarket thermostat, and the direction was posted on the box of which way it went, so I installed it correctly, but now I don't have the box, so I'm going to mark which way it goes. And some nail polish. The OE BMW thermostats have an arrow up at the top here indicating which way they go. Mine doesn't have that because it's an aftermarket thermostat. So I'm just going to mark him and he comes off. So we're going to take off the screw for the cam position sensor. We're going to take off the little nut that held the wiring harness bracket on. So this guy is a 17 millimeter. Next comes the coolant temperature sensor, and that guy is a 22 millimeter. There we go. And then last we have the rear heater core hose. These are both 10 millimeter bolts, and I would advise getting a new gasket. The rear heater core hoses, when they leak, they're a pain in the ass. Okay, so now we're going to take the cylinder head bolts out and along with the washers. So I always start with the end head bolts because they're not in the lifter trays, so it's pretty easy to get one of them. And from here you can basically just stick one of these head bolts through the bottom of the cylinder head. So I'm going to turn it on its side a little bit and stick it through, and it just pops them out. There we go. So just a little trick to help get them out. I prefer not to just tilt the head upside down to get them out that way, because there are washers inside the head, between the head and the head bolt, and if you just tilt it upside down, those might fall into the head and you might lose them, which is no fun. And make sure you have 14 bolts and 14 washers. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to try to fish one of these washers out using a head bolt. Okay. Let's clean him off. There's one of the cylinder head bolt washers, and those guys sit like that, and then the cylinder head has a little section that the washer sits into. So if you just turn the cylinder head upside down, there's 14 of these guys that might just go bouncing around. Okay, so now we're going to start fishing out the head bolt washers. You got to just basically look straight down through where the head bolts came, and you'll see the little washers. It might look like it's just where the head bolts sit. It doesn't look like there's washers sometimes, but the washers are there. Now I would keep these guys. You can reuse these head bolt washers. You cannot reuse the head bolts, so I keep them. How I get them out is I just take basically this little piece of wire, just standard wire, and I bend one end of it to sort of make like a little hook. And you just gotta sit there and try and fish them out using the hook. It's kind of tedious. I don't know if there's any better way to do it. There we go. So there's one of them. This is probably the most tedious part. You could just tilt the head upside down and let them all drop out and then try and fish out the rest of them. That'd probably be quicker, but there's a chance you might lose one, which is no good. And here's the last one. There he is. That's all of them. Alright guys, that's it. Everything on the cast except from the cams, lifters, and trays are out. So I'm going to go ahead and try and take this down to the machine shop now, and we'll see if they'll take it as it is. If not, I'm going to have to pull the camshafts off, and that'll be a fun video on its own. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I'll see you guys later.